Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. All right, to clear up a couple of points on that last segment here, we were talking about the Dallas cop that got in trouble because when Trump got shot, he was like, aim better on social media. They had an investigation. He came back. He got 30 days suspended without pay. Now he's back on the force. And I was just asking if there's any concern that this is a guy that's going to be dealing with the public. He could pull you over. He could investigate a crime at your house or whatever. And if he's that biased against Trump that he's cheering on his death, is this a guy that is fit to be a cop serving the public? And a couple of pushbacks on that. Number one, Mary Lou says on Facebook, James, as a libertarian, don't you believe in free speech? Should we haul the policeman to jail for hate speech for saying aim better? No, I'm not saying it should be a crime. He should be arrested and charged with a crime. No, this isn't a free speech issue. This is like I'm sure everyone agrees that police should have some sort of morality clause or requirements. If a guy's, a Klansman burning crosses on the weekend, we don't want him pulling fellas over in Oak Cliff, do we? So this is sort of the reverse of that. And then Ben, you're on WBAP calling from Eastland. What was your thoughts on the cop situation?
Hold on one second. Let me get you off Bluetooth. There we go.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Hey, while I do not agree with anything he said on Facebook, I'm in public service as well, and had Kamala had been the one shot at, I can't say that I would disagree with his sentiment.
You're not dumb enough to put it on social media, though.
Correct.
But you're okay with him keeping his job?
People got to work. Maybe he'll get a raise under Trump, and maybe he'll enjoy his job more, and maybe it'll change his mind.
Yeah, see, I like that point, too, because if you do, fire him and destroy his life, it almost proves his point. Hey, they are the fascists that will destroy their political opponents, over the smallest disagreements. But right. Totally agree. I think maybe she got demoted. I don't know if a month.
Yeah, I did not know he did not get demoted.
Didn't get demoted or anything.
I just learned that while I was on hold, yeah. So that actually, he should have been. All right. It should have been more than 30 days.
All right. I think we're back in agreement. All right. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah. A couple more updates, and this is just going to be a quick headline here. I was talking about Pennsylvania counting provisional ballots, and while I was saying that, I got a text message from a friend, Antoine, and I got a message via X/Twitter from Michael. Is your last name really Bacon? Anyway, Michael, they say the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled at about 3:15, so 20 minutes ago, that Bucks County is not allowed to count any ballots that don't have the proper date, signatures, or whatever on them. So will that stop them? No idea. All right, now to my next guest. Thank you very much for waiting patiently, Rafael Esparza. We heard a lot about the WNBA, got a lot of attention. A lot of that is driven by Caitlin Clark and her giant profile going into the WNBA. How much did it help?
It helped huge. It would just look at attendance, but it also helped you guys, the Dallas Wings, who just got the number one pick today, because now most likely you'll have probably one of the best girls coming out, Paige Beckers from UConn, and now she can piggyback on the success of what Caitlin Clark did in Iowa and what she did in college sports. So it's going to help the Dallas Wings. Just the success that Caitlin Clark brought in to the WNBA, I can guarantee you Paige Buckets at Dallas Wings is going to carry over the effect that Caitlin Clark did.
Did they turn a profit?
Yes. They did turn a profit, just because now there's two ways the NBA who controls how you turn profits. A, through just ticket sales only, or through revenue through all merch, ticket sales, and I do believe online sales. So I know from the top three, from tickets, online sales, and merch, yes, they had their biggest year ever.
Are we going to get a league expansion? That's really a good sign of a healthy league. Is there new teams coming on board? Do we know?
Yeah, I think there's two new teams coming on board. They're probably going to have a new TV deal. Now, they took a step backwards, announcing they did not accept the new agreement through the league, so they could be striking now. They should need to go back to see what the NHL and then Major League Baseball did, because if they go on strike, any momentum you had killed your league coming in forward. I don't see them doing that, but I think they'll get a better agreement coming in, because they all agreed on that new agreement before the Caitlin Clark-Reese explosion coming into the league.
Well, look, you're a sports handicapper. What did you think of the spectacle that happened on Friday with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul?
Yeah, brilliant move. because everyone doesn't know this, but MVP, which is the league that promotion Jake Paul owns, they are trying to grab Top Rank Boxing to Netflix. Top Rank Boxing will no longer be on ESPN. It was pretty much an audition to see if boxing could work. No one's really talking about, well, they are talking about Tyson and Paul, but they're forgetting about the great co-main event with the two female fighters, even though Serrano got, I guess I could say, screwed on the bouts, but it was a great fight. This is all about trying to get boxing on Netflix, not just the spectacular and the circus we saw between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson.
Well, you need to be in touch because there seems to be a recurring push to approve gambling here in Dallas. And if that happens, I think people would like the results. But I don't know where the stigma comes from, Raphael. What's the pushback against legal gambling?
You need to, the viewers. I helped Louisiana get online sports gambling, Mississippi, and stuff like that. I have talked to people in Texas about it, and I hate the people who are driving listen to. I think California and the whole state of Florida will get it before the state of Texas gets it. Unless for some odd reason Mark Cuban and his group and stuff like that pull something out of their hat, I just don't see it happening anytime soon for the state. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I have family, friends that live in Texas. I go to Houston all the time. I'm hoping I am dead wrong. But as of right now, today, it took a small step backwards on Election Day. All
right, Rafael Esparza from Doc Sports. Thank you very much for your time on WBAP, sir.
Take it easy. Have a great day.
All right, coming up next on The James Show, we're going to take another local look here at a story that's happening in your backyard. But first, I'd like to talk to Bob Lavelle, Home Marketing Services. Look, here we are. We're coming into the end of the year. A lot of people are getting in the holiday rush, and their business sitting on their mind, family and recreation's on their mind. But give me 3 reasons why now is a good time to buy a house.
All right. I'll give you the short reasons. One, home prices, you know what, they're still going up. A good example of that this weekend with one of our buyers. 2, rates. Look at history, and rates are going to go up and down. In 1971, for example, what was the rate then?
Oh, I have no idea.
Well, I happened to have bought my first house then, and I know exactly what it was.
Okay.
It was 7.5%.
I'm glad you weren't relying on me to know that.
Well, no, but I could rely on Gladys.
Right.
Gladys was the perfect tool for me to learn. Gladys was my mother-in-law at the time. And Gladys, well, bless her heart, rest in peace down there somewhere. Gladys did not want me to buy a house because it was too big, it cost too much, and all of the other reasons why she thought it just wouldn't be a good idea. The house was big for a first-time buyer, but I got out of the military, I used my VA bill, and I bought this bigger house. The total price of the house was $38,500, brand new, okay? 3,600 square feet, 3-car garage. I did end up selling the house a few years later for $125,000. And when I sold it, the interest rates were 11%. Back in the 80s, you were around then, barely. But what was the rate back then?
I remember in the early 80s, it had shot up to something huge, but I was like 5.
Actually, it was 13.74% in the early 80s, and it worked its way up into the 16% level. Okay. Now, again, those rates, they're always going to change. But let's take 2021. The rates back then was 2.96%. And I had a client that did not buy his house at 2.96%, which was his dream house. Why? Because COVID, I don't know what's going to happen, so no, not going to do it. He went out this weekend, 4 years later, and bought his house. Here's the difference. He paid $2,600 a month rent for 4 years. That's $31,000 a year and change. $124,000. That's gone. No equity in rent. That's not the big loss. The house that he should have, could have bought, he just paid $100,000 more for it 4 years later. So $200,000 and change off. Bottom line is 3 reasons. Home prices are going up. Rates you can always refinance. And third, most important, I could use the money. James.
972-392-9595. 972-392-9595. Get yourself a good house. Help Bob out. 972-392-9595. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, James.
Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Like a lot of little boys when I was growing up, I thought about being a cop. I thought that would be cool. You get to chase down the bad guys. You get to be the hero. You get to catch bad guys. And there's dangerous people out there, but I'm more dangerous. But I'm just dangerous in a good way. You know, there's a lot of appeal like that. And then as you grow up, you know, you see a couple episodes of Cops. You're like, well, that sucks. I don't want to do that for a living. I don't want to pull people over and they lie to me how much they had to drink. And that's, you know, seems to be the majority of the job that I witnessed on reality TV. But in adulthood, I got a little clearer picture. Have you actually known cops? Because they have tons of stories. Cops and firefighters have the best stories, but most of them are really lame. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like, okay, so there's a guy in White Settlement last week, and he's going to try and make some extra money. So he goes at 3:30 in the morning. He's walking through the Oak Timbers apartment complex in White Settlement. And this is an apartment complex for seniors. So he checks on a front door. It's locked. He checks on another door. It's locked. You can see all this on the surveillance camera. Well, he gets to another one, and the door's open. It just has the screen door there. Hey, it was a beautiful night last Friday. Leave the doors open, get a little bit of breeze, get that fried chicken smell out of there. So he goes in, and he walks into an apartment that's unlocked. He finds the lady in her bed and he puts a knife to her throat. She wakes up. 68-year-old woman was asleep. She wakes up to a knife to her throat. He's asking, where's all the good stuff? She says, just take whatever you want. Take my car. Just don't hurt me. And so he takes some money, takes some keys, but he didn't figure out which car is what. And he just takes off on foot. So police are looking for this guy. And, you know, it takes them a few minutes to get there, and they immediately fanned out, and they see him next door. Like, bro, what are you doing in the apartment complex next door to the apartments you just robbed? You didn't keep running. Would you run for like 30 seconds and get winded? Did you stop because you had to take an important call at 3:30 in the morning? No, our hero here, Francisco, dropped his cell phone at some point and was trying to find it, which I don't know. I don't know what's dumber. Like, how do you drop your cell phone and not notice until later? Like, did you drop it and it fell out and you remember it? And then you're like, okay, I'll come back and get it later. Because if you dropped it and you know, then why didn't you pick it up immediately? I don't have the answers to these questions. But this is just really dumb because now cops are there and they're fanned out and they're looking for him. And he gets caught while he's looking for his phone. Like, even when you saw the cops show up, you didn't take off running again. You're still next door at the next apartment complex in the adjacent property. Even when you saw the cops, they had their lights on. You still looking for your phone? Because I don't know if at this point he would be able to escape criticism. Because if he did run off, then the cops would find his phone, and I'd probably be here making fun of him. Hey, Francisco, you left your phone at the scene of the crime. You didn't think to take that with you. So it's a no-win situation here. But the point is, if you're going to be robbing sweet little old ladies in the middle of the night, maybe get a holster. Maybe get like a zipper pocket. Maybe don't take your cell phone. You ever try to think like a criminal? Like, what happens if I actually wanted to commit a crime? Like, wouldn't you just leave your cell phone at home and it has that tracking data on it? If you were ever a suspect, Francisco, they can take your phone data and say, yeah, here you were pulling on door handles basically at the apartment complex at 3:30 in the morning. Your phone has you there. Why would you even take a smartphone on a crime spree like that? Again, these are rhetorical questions. I do not have answers. I'm not sure if there is a good answer. But that was sort of another disappointing thing I learned about the police experience in general, is for so many of the times they do get to be the good guy, the hero of the community that tracks down and catches a bad guy. It's nothing incredible. It's not like you're catching Two-Face and the Joker. It's not like you're catching Lex Luthor here, catching Francisco looking for his cell phone after he stole a couple chains from a grandma. It's just lame. It's just so weak. Like, this is what you're doing with your life, Francisco? This is what you want to do with your Friday night? I don't know. Maybe he was just upset about the Tyson-Paul fight. Who knows? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. All right, coming up, Goo Goo Dolls are going to be at Dickies Arena July 16th. Special guest Dashboard Confessional. Get tickets at livenation.com, or you can listen to the WBAP Morning Show all week for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see the Goo Goo Dolls. But coming up next, David Hamilton from America's Future Series is going to talk about some of these new picks that have been made, but also the new change from the Biden administration where he's allowing surface-to-surface missiles from America be used in Ukraine against Russia in Russian territory. Another escalation, another act of war. How close does it have to get before we're just in World War III at this point? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome back to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. A couple of breaking headlines since The James Show started. This is a bigger deal than the headline suggests. The Pennsylvania State Supreme Court has ruled again, for real this time. No, for real. Don't count those ballots that don't have the proper signature on them or don't have the proper date on them or don't meet the standards. Can y'all stop counting the ballots for real, Bucks County? Are they going to listen? No idea. We'll see if it works. David Hamilton's back on from America's Future Series. I know this isn't your bailiwick, the fallout from the election lawsuits and whatnot. Any comments, though, on the breaking news that just happened last hour?
Well, as a matter of national security, we need to have free and open and fair elections. And if we can't count on those, then that tears at the very fabric of our nation and our trust, and it can lead to bigger problems. So the idea that we would have a discussion at all around counting ballots of people who are not citizens is just insane.
Yeah, some of them they don't have the signatures on them. They don't have the right dates on them. Anyway, that's not your area of expertise. You guys look beyond the borders. And your thoughts on the Biden move. I guess this happened over the weekend. They said, okay, you can allow surface-to-surface American missiles to be fired from Ukraine into Russia, which appears to be a pretty big escalation. Your thoughts, David?
Yeah, and without being partisan, I have to say, this is just obvious. The way that the Ukraine-Russian conflict has been handled from its very beginning has been amateurish and dangerous. We jawboned Russia into attacking. We gave them an excuse because we kept saying that we wanted Ukraine to join NATO. Harris did that, Blinken did that, and Biden did that, and refused to have negotiations before the invasion. That was a direct threat to any country to put, anytime we had somebody in a NATO country, we put arms, material, missiles sometimes right up against their border.
Well, and the comparison that keeps being used is how did we react to the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Absolutely. And if somebody tried to put anything in Nova Scotia, it'd be World War III. And it is sad that we talk about World War III as if it was, worrying about a bake sale this weekend. Then we looked weak and just insane with our departure in Afghanistan. And we gave them money with the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which emboldened them, gave them money, and we cut our own production. So we made them richer, we made us poor, we made ourselves look weak, and we really invited Putin, who wants to make Russia great again. I mean, you can't say he's crazy, but you can say he, from our perspective, is evil. I mean, he is a bad guy, and we gave him an excuse and motivation. So we have to stop doing that. And now, what we said on your show and other shows at the beginning of the war was, if you back a bear into a corner, it will bear its claws. Those claws are nuclear. And to think that if he wouldn't do this, you don't have a kid in your house or an intern at the station that wouldn't have figured this out. Oh,
totally agree. Is there any chance that Putin sees the writing on the wall and says, it doesn't matter what this goober says, they're changing that seat out in a couple months, and he just overlooks this?
We can count on him being smart. He had to say what he had to say. He knows that in 2 months there'll be a change in power. He knows that Trump and no one else would say these things. Harris wouldn't have said these things. He knows that it'll change, that it's saber rattling. And he also, and the Ukrainians know, if they launch missiles that far into Russia, then the guys with the nukes will use their nukes.
What good does that even do Ukraine, though?
Oh, no. The idea of retaliating, there was a long time that they never pushed back their own border, and all of this was contained in Ukraine. And then the Ukrainians started punishing the Russians back, and that was effective, et cetera. But there's a point. If you continue to put, I'm for a big stick, as big as possible, every sanction, every weapon, everything. But you have to give the bear a chance to get out of the cave. We have to say, what's the negotiated settlement going to be? You pull out, there's no Ukraine in NATO, you're going to keep Crimea, you might keep some of Donetsk and Donbass, we're going to move on. But he has to be able to save face, and he has to be able to pull out. It may not be fair and it may not be right, but this war can't continue forever.
So what do you think about Trump confirming plans to use the military to help deport migrants? There's some people that are saying he's going to turn the military against his own citizens, and this is unconstitutional. But for me, it's like, well, if we can have the military expelling foreigners from Ukraine, can't we use the military to export foreigners from the United States?
Trump needs to speak and tweet less or X less. I know Tom Homan. Homan is the right guy for this job. Homan at his core is a cop. He is going to execute the law. He's not going to try to make law. We have laws. We have an immigration system. We need to get rid of first. And I believe Homan when he says we're going to get rid of the criminals. We're going to give those people who had due process already given to them or ordered by the Biden administration to leave. He's going to execute that. If you're a criminal, if you're a sex trafficker, if you're spreading fentanyl, if you've been given due process and told to leave, you have to leave. There are not going to be mass deportations of children and things like that. There's a lot of work for a good year or two just to get through those, to secure the border in order to make sure that only those people who are supposed to get through, and to get rid of those who are an absolute threat. That comes first. Then we can talk about all this other stuff. We don't need a saber rattle on that right now. And in 4 years, if the Trump administration is able to say, hey, look, we secured the border, we got rid of the bad guys, we got rid of the people that were already ordered to leave, I think their base is going to be happy with that. And he doesn't need to worry about getting another 8 million people or so.
All right, David Hamilton, give him the 30-second pitch on America's Future Series.
America's Future Series is a nonpartisan think tank and speaker series. We host events on topics like these. We're doing our dual-use tech summit down in Austin. We have a number of people in the military speaking about innovation and putting capabilities in the hands of the warfighter faster. We're doing a nuclear energy program as part of EarthX. That's underway right now. And we are going to honor Admiral McCraven in September and raise money for our military. So I hope people will go to americasfutureseries.com, contact me, see if they want to get involved. Maybe they want to speak, moderate, host, sponsor. That would be great. Anyway, love to talk with your listeners because they're fantastic.
Thank you, David Hamilton, America's Future Series. Appreciate the time, sir.
Thank you.
All right, your thoughts on any of these escalations in the foreign policy front? Don't you love the idea that the American military, we can't use that here in America? Oh, we're the only people that have a military that's not for use in their own country. We can only just invade other countries. That's all it's for. It's just for keeping other countries' foreigners out. That's so weird. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. And as soon as we wrap that up, I'm going to talk about this report. It says 1 in 5 Dallas neighborhoods are in the early stages of gentrification. Yeah, that's a good thing, right? Oh, no, it's a bad thing. I don't get that. We'll talk about that, too, coming up on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. And coming up in about 20 minutes, we're going to play Dead or Alive, and you're going to have a chance to win tickets to see a comedy legend, Lewis Black, who may be on his final tour here. He's going to be at the Majestic November 24th. This is the easier of the video games that we have on The James Show. You don't have to know a bunch of rando songs from the 80s or whatever. I'm just going to name 10 celebrities. You have to tell me if they're dead or alive. Today's going to be the Rodney edition. Everyone's name's going to be Rod or Rodney or some variation thereof. That's coming up in 20 minutes. So stick around for Dead or Alive. Let's go to Jared in Weatherford. If you want to be on the show, by the way, 800-288-9227. What's up, Jared?
Yes, I was just talking about going into war right now. Because it being that Trump's fixing to take over, if they are in war, they cannot transfer over, or can they?
Why not? Why wouldn't they be able to?
Because I thought in an act of war, you can't change the president during war. I'm not really sure.
Well, there's a historic precedent that if you start war, generally speaking, public sentiment for your leader goes up. And so a lot of people will do that as a way to stay in power because there's an election coming up, or it will forward any idea of a palace coup if you have like a monarchy or a dictatorship. But there's nothing written into our law or the law of really any country that I know of that says you can't change leadership during a war. I don't think that's statutory. I think that's just sort of a pattern of behavior.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought that's how it went. Okay, cool.
Well, look, I think a lot of people were saying that they were going to try and provoke a war before the election, so there would be a lot of sympathy and a lot of patriotism going into the ballot box. But that we're already past that window. We can't pull that off.
Okay, I got you.
I understand, though, Jared. I appreciate it, bud. Good question. Good stuff. 800-288-9227. And I'm not a believer of the only bad question is the one you don't ask. No, there's a ton of bad questions. That was just a good one. So there's a report that comes out, and I laugh at these so much. I know I'm not. This isn't meant to be comedy, but I read it as comedy. There's a report. Dallas Morning News is all concerned here because 1 in 5 Dallas neighborhoods are in the early stages of gentrification. No, not gentrification. Not people fixing up the neighborhood. Not things being cleaned up and lawns being mowed. That sounds terrible. That's probably racist too. What are you, a Nazi? Are you a fascist? Is that what you are, James? Now, there's not really, I even tried to find one today. There's not really a settled definition on the term gentrification. So if you go to the dictionary, it's real disappointing. It was like, it's when a neighborhood upscales. It's like, well, there's a little more to it than that because no one gets upset when we upscale Princeton. It's not called gentrification when McKinney gets a new strip mall. It's not called gentrification when Prosper has some new luxury apartments built in. No, there's a socioeconomic, dare I say, racial element to this. And one of the better definitions is from Michael Che on Weekend Update for Saturday Night Live.
Lower East Side Manhattan, which is a gentrified neighborhood. And if you don't know what gentrified means, it's basically when a bunch of white people move to a messed up neighborhood and then open up cupcake stores everywhere for some reason.
Joke around. That is the best definition of gentrification. Again, not what you'll see in a pamphlet or what you'll see in the dictionary, but the way people use it. The way people use it on TV or in these articles or on websites or radio shows even. Gentrification, it has a little racial stink to it. And when they talk about, the previous inhabitants are being pushed out, you wouldn't care if they were being pushed out by other people who looked like them. They just had more money, would you? Oh, you would? Show me where you've complained about that. There's not an example. That's an impossible question. Now, this is a complaint about if a non-white neighborhood, because they'll complain, it's not a black thing. They'll complain about black, Hispanic, whatever. Just if upscale people move in. Now, gentrification is something that not only do I find it to be a bad thing, I find it to be a desirable output. And I find it to be the exact same desirable output many of the people that gripe about it claim they want. Because when you have the people who are activists for these, lower rung neighborhoods across the racial spectrums, what are they asking for? They're asking for what? People to come in and invest in their community. How come no one comes in our community and makes any investments? We need some investments in our community. We need to improve things. We need to make things better. We're trying to improve the community improvement. I'm a community organizer. I want to make this community better. Then someone comes in and they invest money in the community. They actually make it better. And now they're a bad person no matter what? See, it's a devious little game they play. You just can't win with some people. If me and a few other people who are stereotypically employed at a place like WBAP, if we all moved to the suburbs, it's called white flight. If we left downtown Dallas and we all just moved out to Salina or something, that would be white flight. But if we were living in Salina and we all moved into a neighborhood downtown and changed it, gentrification. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. So what do? Embrace the term gentrification. Start using it colloquially as not a demerit, but a positive, because it is a positive. And look, there's the other contrast that you see with your own eyes. If the city of Dallas or Fort Worth or whatever, if they take a whole bunch of money for the taxpayers and they're like, we've got this plan to go to this crummy, terrible neighborhood with high crime and poverty all over the place and trash everywhere and unmowed lawns. We're going to invest in it. And we got this development plan and we're going to build these new buildings and they're going to be nice and these upscale apartments and whatever. What's that called? That's called revitalization. See, when the money is taken from you by force and the politicians get to pick the winner and losers on who gets the contracts on fixing up a terrible neighborhood, that's a good thing. But when private citizens voluntarily risk their own money to redevelop and upscale an old neighborhood, that's gentrification. Oh, okay. So it's only good if a politician from the city council or somewhere does it. It's only good if millions of dollars are taken from people by force and given to some nonprofit and they get to decide, some politically connected group. Sure, that's good. But private sector investors taking their own risk, investing their own money to do what you asked them to do, invest in these underserved neighborhoods. They still complain against them. Your boos mean nothing. I've seen what you cheer. All right, coming up next, we're going to play Dead or Alive. Super easy game show. If you want to just go ahead and line up 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm pretty pumped about these tickets, too. I'm not always, by the way, and I'll let you know. But Lewis Black, comedic genius. It's called the Goodbye Yellow Brick Road Final Tour, so this may be his final tour. He'll be at the Majestic Theater November 24th. It's such a good ticket, you'll actually want to go downtown to the Majestic Theater. I've been there before. Great place to see a comedy show. Fantastic. And if I can't get some freebies from our promotions department, I might actually buy myself tickets to go to this. That's what a good show it is. Tickets are now available at livenation.com, but I'm giving away 2 pairs to see Lewis Black in about 8 minutes on the James Show. So go ahead and line up if you want to get in. 800-288-9227. Dead or Alive's next. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Remember, WBAP, your home for Project 2025 and traffic on the ones. Oh, my hope is that some sensitive person is just flipping through the radio down there like, oh, really? I knew it. I'm going to have to move. All right, we got to do Dead or Alive here. I'm dying to give away these tickets. I'm a big fan of this guy. Even though, politically speaking, me and him do not overlap in the Venn diagram very much, but he's funny. His name's Lewis Black. I believe this is his last tour. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, the final tour, comes to the Majestic Theater November 24th. We're going to be playing for 2 tickets now for Dead or Alive. Mr. Jovi, hit the theme. Hey, welcome to Dead or Alive. I am your host, James Parker. Who wants to win tickets to see Lewis Black? I'm going to name 10 celebrities. All you got to do is tell me if they're dead or alive. Today is the Rod edition. I should say Rodney edition so people don't get confused. Calm down. Yeah, this is the Rodney edition. So the all the contestants here, all the names, will Rodney, some variation thereof. Let's start with Stella. Stella in Irving. You ready for Dead or Alive?
Yes.
Okay. Are you on a Bluetooth or something? You sounded distant.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. We'll work with it. Rodney King. Can't we all get along fame? Dead or alive?
Alive.
Well, don't have to worry about that Bluetooth anymore. Thank you very much, Stella. Yeah, he died in like 2012. And no, it wasn't because he got beat up by the cops. It had nothing to do with that. Thank you very much. Evan. This is Evan and McKinney. You're next up on Dead or Alive. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Rod Stewart, Dead or Alive?
Alive.
Yeah, he's on tour, actually. Rod Carew, Baseball Hall of Famer Rod Carew, Dead or Alive?
Ooh, Rod Carew. I'd have to say alive.
He is alive. I really only know him from the Hanukkah song. I never got to watch him play. Rodney Dangerfield, comedian Rodney Dangerfield, is he dead or alive?
Oh, he has passed on. He's dead.
Yeah, he's been dead for like 20 years. Just keeping you on your toes there, Evan. The man's name is Rod Woodson, one of the greatest safeties ever to play the game. Dead or alive?
Alive.
He is alive, only 59 years old.
Yep.
There's a guy in Foghat. Their guitarist's name is Rod Price. Is he dead or alive? The guitarist from Foghat.
Oh. I'd have to say dead.
That's a fantastic guess. Rod Blagojevich, the corrupt former governor of Illinois, but I repeat myself. Yes. Is he dead or alive?
He's got to be alive.
He's alive. Well, 67. He's getting up there. The guy that said, "Come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right." His name's Rod Roddy. Is he dead or alive?
Dead.
And finally, one of the great wrestlers of all times. I think they were faking it, though. Rowdy Roddy Piper, real name Roderick George Toombs. Is he dead or alive?
Dead.
He is dead. Oh, Stella dropped the ball, but Evan didn't. Well done, Evan. You're not like Googling these in front of my face, are you?
No, sir, I'm not.
All right.
I'm out in front of the CVS about to go in and get my prescription.
Well, you're about to get some tickets mailed to you, too. I'm going to put you on hold. Garrett will get your information. We will email you 2 tickets to see Lewis Black, Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road, the final tour. It's going to be at the Majestic Theater, November 24th. Tickets available now at livenation.com. All right, coming up in the next segment, I'm going to give my review of the Tyson-Jake Paul fight, because I think there's some lessons that can be taken from that fight. And no, it's not going to be anything like deep or existential, but I think you'll enjoy it. One of the things I noticed is these commercials came on during football again this weekend, and they had disappeared for like a year. I just hadn't seen these in a while. Do you know what Peyronie's disease is? If I say that, do you know the commercial I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about? Sean, do you know what Peyronie's disease is? You can just nod. Garrett, do you know what I mean with Peyronie's disease? Oh, crap. I have to explain it. It's the commercial where they have like a carrot, but it's not straight. It's crooked. And then they show like a zucchini, but it's not straight. It's crooked. And they have all kinds of crooked vegetables and peppers and fruits and stuff. And it's for crooked stuff. Now, do you know what I'm talking about, or do I have to be more explicit? Because kids are in the car. We all get it now? Okay, so now, listen, I just went down my own little rabbit hole sitting there. Like, people have flashbacks. I have, like, comedy flashbacks. I'm concerned about Mr. Peyrone, or Dr. Peyrone. I'm assuming he's a doctor. But I also imagine that this is a syndrome that's probably named after the guy who did the research and either discovered it or found the cure for it or whatever. His name's attached to this disease. But how would you like to spend 8-something years, 10 years of medical school, maybe another decade or so to develop your revolutionary drug, help millions, but now your name will forever be synonymous with a crooked tool? You think he's cool with that? You think his dad's cool with that? You think his kids are embarrassed by that? But think about the amount of inspiration. Where does that come from? Where did Mr. Peyrone, Dr. Peyrone, get his inspiration? Do you think, like the commercial, his little poblano pepper, do you think his is straight? I mean, is that the source of his inspiration? Has he just been going to the men's room and every time he looks down, like, I got to do something about this? And so maybe that's what he did. Maybe that's the reason he chose medicine to begin with. And when he's in medical school, he has to, he doesn't explain himself. But at some point, he has to skip over all these other specialties and devote himself to that one. And then that's probably not looked highly upon in the medical community. Hey, Dr. Peyrone, man, you sure are great with a microscope or a Bunsen burner or whatever. Why don't you help me work with my team? We're curing cancer. And he's like, oh, no, that's not what I'm working on. And then there was another lab that was going to hire him. They're working on a cure for Alzheimer's. He's like, no, I've got to straighten all these dudes out. There's dudes up there that are rocking and it's not straight. And I think I can help them. I think I can straighten them out. Kind of pun intended. But how would you like for your name to be associated with that? I mean, the only other doctor who has it worse off, is there a Dr. Herpes? Is that where that came from? Right? Is that named after him? Or like a Dr. Chlamydia? Maybe that you probably used to be like an aristocratic name, It's like, oh, I'm descended from the Duke and Duchess of Bavaria. Yes, we're the Chlamydia family. This is our coat of arms. My son's going to be a doctor. No idea what he's going to discover. Oh, well, I know. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Just one commercial makes me go into like a 3-4 minute hole, and the only person who has to listen to me is poor Miss Parker. She has to hear all of my dumb theories on all these commercials, and if anything, she's just a saint for that. Hi, Miss Parker. All right. Coming up next, some updates on blessedbethefruit.org on the James Show. If you have any recommendations for what I should add to it, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Dang. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I was just watching car wrecks. There was one that happened in Louisville over the weekend. I didn't see this on the news. Just some guy in his dash cam shows some people blowing past him. And if he's going the speed limit, these people were going at least 90, and they were in cars that probably about 3-4 times the value of my car. Not that makes it better or worse, just to let you know it probably has the ability to go a lot faster than my car. And so one swoops around him on one side, the other swoops around him on the other side. And one of them ticks the wall and ends up bumping into the other one, and then they both splay out all over the place. And it's like, this is what you do with your Saturday night? And also, like, how many times have you been driving home Saturday night, 1 a.m, 2 a.m, two dudes blow past you like that, or just one guy blows past you like that? You're like, number one, I bet he's drunk. Number two, that dude's going to kill himself. Boy, you just saw it happen right in front of your face. Isn't that weird when you see a car crash and you're like, I just have to assume somebody died there. I think I just saw a dude lose his life. There's like, well, that takes the fun out of it. Now I got to turn around and do a show and make jokes about blessedbethefruit.org. Oh, don't think that's going to stop me, because we are your home for Project 2025 and Traffic on the Nines. Start playing the Omen through. Yeah. Is this the proper music we should play? Because I debated between my Project 2025 theme song for the James Show is either going to be this or that freaky song that they used on that episode of Walking Dead where Daryl was being tortured. Do you remember that? And so they played this Easy Street song. And this sounds like an upbeat song, but it's such a hellish episode. It's just such a scary, gut-wrenching, emotional episode. The juxtaposition is just magical. How happy this song is versus the emotions that conjure up if you're familiar with that show. Daryl's going through hell while this song's playing over and over. Easy Street. But The Handmaid's Tale itself doesn't have a very good theme that lends itself to being background music. It sounds like a horror movie soundtrack. It's adorable. I have cracked myself so much with this Handmaid's Tale stuff that I think I'm going to have to go back and watch like the first season again. And there's more seasons. I don't know, because people keep pointing out things that I missed the first time around. And that's where the name of the website comes from. Blessed be the fruit. Do you ever see Handmaid's Tale, Sean? Okay, so I have to explain from ground zero for most people. So Handmaid's Tale I think it was on Hulu, and it's in this dystopian future where it's Rachel Maddow's worst nightmare. It's Joy Reid's worst nightmare. It's MSNBC's, like, this is what their nightmares are made of. The fascist fundamentalist Christians take over. They're Christian terrorists. You know those guys. Well, I know they don't exist in the real world, but in the fantasy of Handmaid's Tale, the Christian terrorists rise to power in the United States, and they take over, and we become a one-party state. And now it's called Gilead, which is an Old Testament reference we'll get into in a future episode. But now that the Christo-fascists are in charge, there is a pandemic that sweeps through, and now we're having some issues with fertility in women. And it turns out all the handsome, football players and captains of the football team and captain of the student council and all the A-list jock popular boys grow up and they marry the head cheerleader, the head of the drill team, or all the high status, popular, beautiful girls. But they can't have babies without all of these mid-average, at best attractive women who are single of childbearing age. But immediately the Christians have to seize all the wombs of America. So you have to register your womb. And if you're single and you're not already betrothed to one of these high status Christian men, well, then you're a handmaid. And you have to wear this ketchup bottle looking outfit. That's what the red robes are with the stupid white bonnet. That's what they've imagined themselves in their fake fantasy of what a dystopian Christian future is going to look like. And at some point, they're going to be used and abused for their fertility. They don't want to have a baby. Of course, they'd rather abort it. But the beautiful Christians, the rich, high status, powerful head cheerleader Christian wife and her captain of the football team Christian husband, they take one of these handmaidens, they take her to bed, and the wife holds her down by her wrist while she's in her lap, and the husband gets on the business end, and they just take her. And it's almost like, what kind of 50 Shades of Grey is this? This is supposed to be a dystopian future, but it sounds like your biggest fantasy. It sounds like you want this to happen. Oh, I'm so desired by the beautiful, rich, high-status, powerful, popular kids. The ones that are clean cut and they wear ties and their wives are beautiful and they look like they just walked off of a magazine in the 90s. Not magazines now. Oh, they can't have society without me. I am the essential bedrock to the future of our society, and they're just using me for my fertility. All they want me for is my womb. It is so ridiculous and over the top. So I am taking the fun of that, and really, it's a pretty good show. The premise is terrible, just a god-awful premise for a show. The writing's good, acting's good, and look, I enjoy a good dystopian future. But you and I are laughing at this. It's easy to forget that it's not a bunch of people. It's maybe 10, 20% of the population They really are worried about this happening. They really are worried about them being gathered up because they are single women of childbearing age, and whether they want to have a kid or not, they're going to have to register their womb. They're going to be walking around saying, blessed be the fruit, and under his eye, and all these religious Christian zealots are going to be using them for sex. I mean, it is the weirdest fantasy that you and I easily separate out, and we're laughing at it, but people seem to be really concerned. And so what you're seeing in part of the reaction to the election, where you have these women who are shaving their heads, they're swearing off sex, they're divorcing themselves, in another way to use the term, from that whole element, the whole courtship and finding a partner and starting a family. And they're moving away from that because part of what they're concerned about has been, ginned up by these Handmaid's Tale fantasies. So I went out and I bought blessedbethefruit.org just to be fun. So when I do these bits and I say the website, it may, if anyone goes and types it in, it'll just redirect it back to our page at WBAP.com. But I think I'm going to put some stuff on there. I got some great suggestions over the weekend. If you want to add one, you can send me an email, james@WBAP.com, or I get more than anything from Facebook messages. So here's what we already have. There's going to be a place where you can order your Handmaid's Tale costume, the ketchup-looking costume. A link to download a PDF for Project 2025. Maybe I can find some YouTube reviews of people reviewing different types of hair clippers. So if you want to shave your head and be less attractive, ladies, if you're going on one of those sex strikes, a good recommendation was we needed a semaglutide in there. And I was thinking Red Mountain Weight Loss is the semaglutide from the WBAP morning show. So I'll have a link to them. Maybe some hair dye, a link to nose rings. Another brilliant one, a link to cat food and kitty litter, because these are supposedly like cat ladies. Oh, that's okay. That's good too. And then maybe a link to like a Planet Fitness or some, therapy sessions. They probably don't need a hairstylist, but if you have any additions, I'm going to be throwing it up there. I'll be adding to it and we'll unveil it hopefully later this week, the unveiling of blessedbethefruit.org. God, we're having too much fun with this. All right, stick around. Coming up next, Mark Levin. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.